Emily.
Hi, Julia. Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, September 8th. The time is 6:01 p.m. So I will call to order our monthly meeting of the Bike Walk Commission. In attendance, we have Julia Green from the Health Department, Nicholas Pappas, Becca Stoll, Greg Pacelli, and Dilene. Thank you for taking notes tonight. First item on our agenda tonight is an opportunity for public comment. So we will start with that. If any members of the public would like to raise their hands to speak or introduce themselves, I see we have some new attendees. You're welcome to raise your hand and do so now. I see we have Phil. Phil, you have the floor.
Hey, good afternoon. Phil Kiai here, Norwalk native. How's it going?
Hi, Phil. Thank you for joining us tonight.
I don't know why my camera's not working, but it's not. So, want to just, I know past couple months talked about the Ride the Tide, ridethetide.net, where I will be doing the first ever hydro bike crossing of Long Island Sound, raising money for the Great Cycle Challenge for the month of September, spotlighting also environmental stewardship, focusing on clean water and community connection. That is happening September 27th. I have a few partners on board that have put my stuff out there. I actually have an interview tomorrow with News 12. I know Nancy on Norwalk is producing an article on it. Would love to get your guys' support in putting something out there. Help me raise the money for the charity. I have a goal of $5,000. I think so far I've raised 600 on the dot. um, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Great, Phil. Thank you. I know you've joined our last few meetings to talk about this. Can you remind us all, just for people who are new and may have not heard about the charity event yet? It's what's the organization called, and what are you raising money for specifically?
So the Great Cycle Challenge is for the Children's Cancer Research Fund. And every September they put out a cycling challenge where you cycle 300 miles. I won't be doing 300 miles on the hydro bike. That's a lot. It's very slow. The vast majority of the miles will happen on a road bike or gravel bike. But as the finisher to the month, I wanted to, really highlight alternative, active transportation as a means of mobility. You don't really have to be on a boat to to get around. You can use alternative modes, and this just so happens to be an extreme example, I think, but it's still there. And if you can ride a bike, you can get around the sound. So the charity, all the money goes. I'm not taking any money, and I'm not taking any donations personally or anything like that. The hydro bike is supplied by myself. My launch point and return point is supplied by the East Norwalk Boat Club. I have people that are donating. I call it my armada, fleet of boats, basically to go with me across the sound so I don't get run over. Um, Going over to Long Island, the Harbor Boat Club. And depending on how the weather and conditions are, I feel like it might be a little turbulent. It might be a tough 14, 15 miles across, considering the wind and time of year. If I have it in me to return, I will. If I don't, then I will be getting on a boat and coming back. My plan is to swap burgees over there at the boat club, where in a sort of a ceremonial way, I'll be giving the burgee, which is the boat flag of the East Norwalk Boat Club, which is a boat club that's been around since 1910. So a lot of history there. Swap burgees, bring them back, and I can put that on the wall in our boat club. We don't have that one. And a lot of the other facets of being out on the water, I wanted to spotlight. Environmental stewardship is a huge one. Clean water is a huge one. If it goes on the ground, it goes in the sound. I've worked with the Sustainable Streets group in Norwalk, who obviously advocate for biking, walking, public transportation, housing, urban spaces. This is a big thing in their wheelhouse as well. Just good oversight of kind of how things go, and what we decide to put on the ground and build, and how all that kind of goes into the water. I was actually out on one of my practice runs. I go up and down the harbor, and I noticed that the drain lines on the highway are actually disconnected, so they're actually not going into the um, basins that are designed on the sides of the highway. They're just dropping right into the harbor. I don't know if they get clogged. I bet you they just get clogged. Poor design. I don't know, but you can see all the drain ports, all the pipes are disconnected, and literally we've avoided the use of the basins. So all the runoff from the highway just falls right into the water. So all the elasticers, all the gnarly stuff that can fall on the highway is just going right into the water instead of the drain basins that are on the side. Something that I've actually heard from the Harbor Commission a couple of years ago, in that as they dredge the harbor and dig up all these gnarly chemicals. Um, and of course, the fresh water, the hydrilla, that's been a real problem for our state. Invasive species of plant that clogs up, and I believe it was diquat dibromide that they're treating the freshwater system, which is a pretty strong herbicide, and will go through the freshwater system. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know too much about it, but if it's going to deplete a lot of invasive plants as well as regular plants and wildlife, it's obviously a little bit of a concern. People should just be aware of it. I'm not saying it's bad, but and community connection was another big point. I have all these different groups working together. Manufacturer of my hydro bike, you folks, Sustainable Streets, East Norwalk Boat Club, the one in Long Island, news media, just trying to get together to support and say, hey, let's take a look at everything. Let's put some money into kids with cancer and support them. Not looking to raise a huge amount of money, but I feel like these are all hot button items that kind of are ubiquitous in all our lives. Everyone needs clean water. Everybody wants access to the water, and should. Yeah.
That's so great, Phil, and thank you for joining and talking about it too. The Great Cycle Challenge sounds like a great organization. I'm so glad to hear you're bringing it here to Norwalk and doing something so nuanced, such as, biking, water biking across the sound, hydro biking. Is that what you called
Yeah.
it?
It is the
Yeah.
first ever. It is the first ever recorded hydro bike crossing of Long Island Sound.
It's gonna be really exciting, and I know we're wishing you all the luck, and we'll, promote it on our social channels. We'll share. I know it sounds like you have a website and
Yep.
social media people can follow along, and that's ridethetide.net,
Yep.
as well as Ride the Tide Norwalk on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
Great. Well, any other commissioners with questions or comments for Phil? Thank you. So, oh, I see Becca, you have your hand raised.
I think you basically just covered it, but it was sort of a two-parter question in that I was wondering what Phil is looking for from us other than, well wishes and social media promotion. And then if we have any sort of policy about what our social media is as far as, not that this is an endorsement or anything like that, but what is our policy for promoting outside events on a social media that is associated with the city of Norwalk?
That's a good question, Becca. And I know I don't have a full answer to this from what we've experienced so far, just in my time with the commission overall. We kind of started our social media channel, so it's really been opportunities not only to connect with city, events and sponsorships and opportunities to get involved with official city business, but also with nonprofits, with individuals, with other people local to Norwalk starting these sorts of initiatives. So that's why I definitely appreciate Phil coming on and talking about this. And while we're not, donating as a commission per se, we still, support his mission and the fact that he's bringing this kind of opportunity to Norwalk in a way that's not I want to say unique because I haven't heard of hydro biking before, and I don't know if that's something we promote in Norwalk specifically. And it
So
sounds like he has support doing it. But yeah, go ahead, Phil.
it's really not about me crossing the sound on a hydro bike. It's sort of a chance for Norwalk to lead by example. I think we're showing how cycling, clean water, and community really all connect. Um, every mile is really a representation that we're tied to healthier streets and safer, bike lanes, better walkability, access to water, and really to get people active. It's really like an event platform to bring attention and resources into our city.
I'm here for it. Thank you.
I guess my only follow-up then would be, Phil, what do you hope, if this event is mostly to raise awareness, what is the future you hope for? Because that's what I want to know how Bike Walk Commission can help with.
So when we redesign streets and, look at the kayak access point on First Street, that's supposed to be a kayak access point. I don't think I could even safely launch my hydro bike there. It's not well put together. And that's a spot where people would go and bring their kayaks or, stand-up paddleboards and launch them there. And, that's a great spot if you don't want to make it all the way down to the beach. You don't have a spot on the kayak rack because we don't build enough kayak racks at the beach for people to use alternative transportation methods for the water. That's just, you have to wait. I'm, still waiting a lottery. So that's, one of I look at the Bike Walk Commission as a way to segue active transportation as a means of mobility. You don't have to have a car or a truck or some motorized vehicle to be able to enjoy the recreations here in Norwalk that should be available.
Maybe we should be Norwalk Walk Bike Boat Commission or something like that.
Well,
I
no, when
mean,
you really think, I look at it as, if you wanted to get access to the water, walking somewhere and getting access to the water, it's sort of limited. But
mhm,
there are a lot of spots that, go to your First Street kayak lock, your little launch point right there. There's no sidewalk. It's not,
mm,
and I'm not saying I'm not saying necessarily, that's not the top of the list, but in my perspective, but it's something that, that would be cool if you could cleanly walk there and access it.
definitely. No, I appreciate that point too for interconnected public transit and active transportation purposes. I think that's a great idea. But yeah, we're wishing you all the luck. You said one more time, what's the date of your launch officially or
September
potential?
20, September 27th is my day. I'm
Okay.
actually going to be riding the tide out right at low tide to help me try to get across a little bit faster. And then the tide will actually be coming in, which hopefully will push me to Long Island. And hopefully the wind is not so bad and I don't get smoked out there in some serious waves. But yeah, so September 27th, and my rain date is September 28th. And if anything happens then I'll just have to do it another day. I'll just take a day off from work to do it, as soon as possible.
Okay. Any other questions for Phil? Thank you, Phil, for joining and sharing that. Okay. Then we will move on to, or I guess before we move on to our next agenda item here, we'll take any other public comment. I see we have one other hand raised here. Leanne, you have the floor.
Hi, thanks. I just have one general comment, which we're trying to get this comment out to the Bike Wall Commission, anybody else who's kind of participating in the Complete Streets initiative. I'm one of the Lockwood Lane people. We were on the call the last time. I'm not on the call to be confrontational, but I just want to urge everybody to think about, as the Complete Streets initiative continues to evolve, take shape, whether it's bike paths, walk paths, kayak access, all the things that everybody is passionate about. Don't forget that there are residential areas that the residents would be impacted by any significant commercial installations. So it's great that we want a city that's connected and walkable, all those good things. But some of the residents whose properties would be impacted, don't forget that aspect of it. That's all we're asking. Don't forget that it's not just putting down a sidewalk. It may impact somebody's property. It may impact somebody's, I don't know, enjoyment of space. So just the balance of it is what we hope to hear more about as the Complete Streets takes. What's the impact on people who own properties, and how is that going to be married together so that it's a positive for everybody and not a positive for bikers, but a negative for people who own properties that are being impacted by installation of commercial sidewalks. So that's going to be my a recurring comment, but that's what we really want and hope to see, because we are a street that is very quaint and people stroll, and it's a lovely little street, and we're concerned about the impact of something that commercializes our road for very little benefit in terms of connectivity. So I just want to put that out there. Just try and stay engaged with the conversation.
Thank you so much, Leanne. I really appreciate your comment and for joining us tonight. I'm curious, just right off the bat, I know Lockwood Lane, we did have in our last meeting a few comments
Yeah.
about the sidewalks going in. So I just have
Yeah.
one quick follow-up. I know with Lockwood Lane, are you part of the City Hall Neighborhood Association? Is that your neighborhood there?
We're in this historic district right by the green. We're just a couple streets over from City Hall and a couple streets up from the green. We do know that we have been told that we will have a meeting on this with Dan and some other folks. So we're really looking forward to that. But we also just don't want to sort of sit and, with our fingers crossed and hope that happens. And we want to make sure that our voices are part of the conversation. And I don't mean to be sort of selfish about just our road. I'm assuming that this will roll out to other residential areas, that people might have a similar desire to be part of the conversation and not just get a plan sort of fait accompli. I lean into, I'm particularly passionate about this little area because it is historic, and I live in a home that's almost 100 years old. And so the value of the historical part and the desire not to kind of negatively impact this part of Norwalk that has this history. And I'm sure other areas might have the same comment. But, how do we continue to highlight some of the historical value as well as create the future plan for the city? We always have to move forward, but we also want to embrace and celebrate some of the history that's here. And I just happen to be on one of those roads and in one of those little houses. So we're looking forward to the meeting, but with the city, but we're also just trying to stay engaged. And I am as well on a personal level, just trying to stay engaged in different areas where I can.
Definitely. Thank you, Leanne. And again, this is a great opportunity for us to connect with you about, expressing these wants and needs, especially for safe walking and strolling around your neighborhood, and, and working with the city to, make sure that those improvements and safety, features are part of the plan ongoing. I do see, Becca, you have your hand raised. Do you have a comment or question for Leanne?
Yes, I'm just wondering if we've heard anything since this seems like really it's under the purview of the Complete Streets Committee more than us. I'm wondering if we've heard anything from them, or if maybe any updates from them in particular.
I don't know if we've heard anything from the Complete Streets Ordinance Committee. I don't know, Greg, if you have any updates on, I don't know if there's been an official meeting yet since it's been rolled out, or when we anticipate to have that meeting.
No, there hasn't been any official meeting, and specifically about Lockwood Lane. We just know that the public meeting is forthcoming between Public Works and the residents.
That's all.
Okay. Any other commissioners with questions or comments for Leanne? Thank you again, Leanne, for your comments tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to have to scoot here, but I'm glad I was on the call to be able to at least add some more detail from the Lockwood Lane perspective.
Definitely. No, and I just want to also address, I did receive a few emails from the Lockwood Lane community, other neighborhood members, and I'm working with the city to reply to those. And I did receive an email from you with Pamela as well. So we'll make sure to.
Hopefully one of them was from me.
Yes, yes. Thank you for providing that too. This is exactly why we're here. So thank you for submitting those comments.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, any other members of the public with public comment? We're a little over time here, but I appreciate all the conversation we've had so far. Okay, so then with that, I will move on to our next agenda item here, which is the Open Streets check-in under old business here. So review and updates on current or planned open streets programming. I believe, Becca, you brought forward this agenda item. Just offhand, I know I haven't really checked in on anything, so I'm curious. Yeah, I'll leave it to you to initiate the conversation there.
I mean, that was my question. When is it happening? Because I have ideas.
I know in one of our last meetings earlier this year, we talked about meeting with the Parks and Rec department about coordinating this year's Open Streets event. I believe Christine had reached out to her point of contact, and we didn't really get the green light to go through the channels we went through last year. So it kind of stalled, and I didn't think we had anything planned for this year. I know we talked about doing something smaller, like a block party per se, and that's where we kind of rerouted to smaller organized open street opportunity events, such as the ones with the Visit Norwalk and the Development and Business Department, or Business of the Norwalk Business Development and Tourism Department doing the Sono Saturday markets, which ended up being, a closed street, kind of open street event, or the arts festival, things like that. And that's, I think, where I've kind of left off from there. But any other commissioners with ideas for open streets programming, or initiating kind of what we did last year again?
I mean, ideas, yes. Kids Bike Swap was one that came to me through Nora Nijelski Eichner, because she said she has to go all the way to Brooklyn to go to the nearest Kids Bike Swap, and that seems like something we could do here. Bike giveaways in general, I think, was the thing that I was hearing a big ask for.
Bike giveaways and swaps. I know when we do the events that we are at, I know a big feedback point is, oh, I don't have a bike. I would love a bike. I would love to bike, but I don't have one. So that would be a great opportunity. And especially around kids. I know in the past there's been bike giveaways through different organizations. And I think most prominently, I know the Norwalk Police Department has some sort of bike giveaway program based on, collected bikes or things like that. So it could be worth engaging them on an opportunity to do something like that or build that out. But I know you mentioned you connected with Nora about a bike swap. There was also, I think Phil had recommended another organization in Westport that does this, and they fix up bikes and give them away. It could be an opportunity to, collaborate with that organization too. I don't have their name offhand, but
I've given bikes to them and could probably pull it up very quickly.
that is I think it's a big uh, investment. I don't know if investment's the right word, but that would be a good uh, time commitment if we wanted to do something like that.
They are called
D-
Northeast Community Cycles.
Northeast Community, that's the one. Yep. Are you thinking of proposing doing an open streets event next year, or at least finding a way to tie open streets into like a bike swap, something like that?
Well, I have not. There has not been an open streets event in my time as commissioner, so I don't know who started it. Whether it was we jumped on with NPS or we got NPS on board, like who the driving force was.
Mm.
Like, was this a bike walk event that other people got behind, or was it an NPS event that we jumped onto?
It was a bike walk commission kind of initiated event. We worked closely with the Parks and Recreation Department to make it happen, especially with our location of Calf Pasture Beach. But it was, Tanner took on a lot of the work and he recruited outside volunteers to support him in, organizing, planning, and finding people to support him. Manny, you were closely involved as well, and Nick. But it was a big, with the traffic authority approvals and with the routing of traffic and all of that demand with the police department's assistance as well. It was a large feat. So I think that was
So,
part of the reason we didn't do it this year.
all right, but it sounds like something that perhaps we would be in a better place to take on once we are fully staffed at 7 commissioners.
Definitely, yeah, with a little more manpower
I
or
love
power.
I love doing open streets at Calf Pasture, but and I feel like there's been conversations about prior locations. I'm just curious, like if anybody has ever thought like of any other locations. I mean, I guess Sono could be a potential area, but or even like around Wall Street, if there's like an open street type of event, maybe connecting it with an NRVT where we like close, utilize the NRVT, but then utilize a portion of like a street to close it off to kind of have be an extension of that. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I feel like it'd be really cool to incorporate the NRVT into a open street type of event. And I don't, and I agree, like this Harley would be great for when we have 7 commissioner, a little more manpower. But I think it'd be cool to incorporate the NRVT as it is like a piece of open street space for bikes and pedestrians.
Yeah, maybe it's something like a piece of North Water by the aquarium, right? So that you can get on the NRVT.
Right, exactly.
My other thought was, since you mentioned Sono, there's so much like great talk going on about the walkability of Sono Elementary. That feels like a really easy tie-in to do it like on Meadow Street Extension or something, an area that hopefully people are already becoming more and more comfortable walking and biking in, an area where we're actively putting in traffic calming and sidewalks. We could really highlight the great work TMP is doing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that too. That's a great
And
idea.
talk and meet a population that already walks where they're at and support it.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly love doing it at Calf Pasture though. I think that's that's like prime real estate for an open street event for sure, because it's a beautiful like reward to go to the end of like the beach, so I would still, but I if we want to make it a little more micro, I know Nick, you've gone to some in the Bronx, right, that are not necessarily as like extensive as like, I mean, I think Calf Pasture is only like a mile, not even a mile.
Maybe it could end at Manresa once there's Manresa.
Ooh, that'd be cool. Nick, do you want to share a little bit about like your experience with the ones at the Bronx?
Well, I think you're referring to the ones in Manhattan.
Manhattan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, those are on a like much larger scale.
They are a larger scale.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they were maybe a little more neighborhoody.
No, the ones that I've been to anyway, I know that there are some in New York City that operate on a smaller scale, but the ones I've been to are like an annual event that like happens across several weekends and like spans the majority of Manhattan. And yeah, it's definitely like a big deal. They got a lot of volunteers to help with like a lot of logistics, and they got a lot of vendors. Uh,
Is it like a ciclovia type of thing? I don't know if anybody's familiar with ciclovia or cyclobia, which I know there's like some of them that happen in Colombia, but then there's in LA they have cyclo where they like will shut down a route and make it for just bikes and other than carpet like things that are not cars basically.
I
yeah,
mean, the equivalent of that, I can think of the Sideborough bike tour, but besides that,
Say it again. The Fibro,
the
yeah.
Sideborough bike tour is the only thing I can think of. Other than that, most of the city street closing I can think of is real like food market type stuff, farmers market type stuff. I mean, when I was in fourth grade, they would close off the single block that our school was on, and we would have recess in the street. We called it Play Street.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about Play Street or something like that.
what Manny was asking about was the Summer Streets event. So that's what I'm saying. Is like it's on a bigger scale. I wouldn't know where to get more information about like how to apply what I saw there to kind of what we're doing. I guess it would start with like New York City's equivalent, but I'm not sure how to make that connection.
Here, like, I know this might be like a better conversation for like for another time when we really have more. But I'm just curious, like what would it be? I don't even know what the logistical like within the city, like what it takes to shut down like a square of Sono. So basically, like, is that Washington, Maine, Haviland, and then Water? Like, if that square, we just shut it down for like an afternoon or an evening, I don't know, whatever, and make it like bike friendly, like families can ride around there in a square. Like, what would be like like logistically with the city? Like, what would it require clearance for? And like, obviously, like law enforcement, but like, what does it take to shut a street down or a couple streets down? Does anybody know?
I'm not a city expert, but with that example specifically, I'd say something that does not have in common with Calf Pasture is that has delivery trucks going to every restaurant every day. Right? That's something that makes Calf Pasture more doable. Am I right, Greg?
Well, it all depends. Calf pasture is obviously overseen by Rexon Park. So it ultimately is up to them to determine whether or not, we can use Calf Pasture Beach. They, in the past, I know they've, requested that we do something like that during the off season. So beyond like the, May to September, beyond that time stamp, so that people can still access the beach. Either way, whether it goes on any city road, anything has to go in front of the traffic authority. It's not something that we'll have to do our due diligence and provide documentation and what you're offering. In the past, there's been a little more programming other than just closing the street to bike or to walk. Usually there's something else that's tied to it that will help. But yeah, if you're going to close the street, there's a lot that goes into it. Just the emergency management side of things, especially.
Would we be able to piggyback off? That's a really good point, Greg. Would we be able to like piggyback off of like an arts, like Sono Arts Fest, and then there's already a good amount of what I described shut down for Sono Art Festival. So like including then a few more streets within
you might be able to. I just don't know. I know when they close the street and that, there's all the vendors within the road. So I'm not sure how that would work. I don't know what their traffic plan looks like. I mean, they do it automatic every year. So
right.
That would take a little more planning and coordination, especially, with other city departments before you even go in front of the traffic authority to make sure they're on board with it.
Right. No, that's good. I mean, I feel like this is like the the meaty like logistics that really, determines if some of this is feasible or not. So I feel like
I think the more you plan ahead of time, the better it's going to turn out.
Mhm.
It's something that takes months and months of planning and programming before, just getting the approvals done.
Right.
I guess kind of on that note, Becca, Manny, Nick, what are your thoughts on having an open streets planning committee? Would that be something that we could take outside this call and initiate if it's something that commissioners felt was important to start planning ahead for 2026?
I'd be interested. I know it is a lot of work, but I'd be interested in something like that.
Yeah, and I think having committees a good idea because it affords you the opportunity to bring in some other citizens who want to help with just that part, and allows us to kind of get more manpower for that specific thing.
Agree. Interest, yes. Bandwidth, not so much. Not till we have. And the thing too is because there's only 4 of us right now, it's really hard to have a committee that, I mean, any committee inherently requires 25% of our commission to be on it right now because that's one person.
I don't think so. It could just be one point person of our commission and then outside help, kind of like Manny and Nick were suggesting.
Sure. Let me rephrase that. What I more meant is right now, every single outside activity has to be borne by one of the 4 of us, and it'd be better if there were 7 of us.
Right. No, I agree with that point too, that we would like more commissioners. So I think, yeah, if there was one person on our commission that would want to lead the open streets planning committee, would someone want to be a volunteer tonight, or we could talk about it more offline, I guess, or whoever would be interested can let me know and we could start that. But what are initial thoughts on having a planning committee?
It's one of those things where I want to be a part of this, but I also do feel a little bit like, I'm trying to keep some other plates spinning within the bike walk commission, right? Like,
Right.
um, with some of the other things that we're kind of coming up against. But I mean, I'm definitely would be happy to be a part of it. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to be the lead of the committee.
Same.
We-
I can't take on leading it.
Okay. We can bring it up again next time then, but it's a good agenda item and thank you, Becca, for bringing it forward. But it would be nice to get back into that open streets programming. Then if any other comments on that before I move on to our next agenda item?
No, I just think I'm very intrigued about. I mean, I really love doing it. Honestly, at Cat Pasture, I think that'd be awesome. But I am intrigued at like how we can explore other options as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Manny. Next item on our agenda is the Bike Ped Master Plan update. Becca, I will hand that off to you.
Emily and I had a meeting with former Commissioner Tanner Thompson, who had been running point on this. It was very educational and helpful. We learned a bunch of stuff basically about how we've got these 3 documents going, right? The 2012 BP Master Plan, which calls out specific streets, some of which Tanner had done a pretty good job of auditing. And then how that needs to coordinate with the Complete Streets Design Guide and with the 2022 TMP plan, which in itself expands on the POCD plan. These are a lot of new acronyms for me, but I'm learning. And I guess some of this also had to do with the Pedestrian Ad Hoc Task Force, which is now defunct. But all this to say that I think there's a lot of work to be done here because we are still, in theory, beholden to this plan that might not make sense anymore because it was done in 2012. Some of it might be complete for all we know, but until we have somewhere to centralize that data, and maybe that's me and Jody working together, maybe that's me, Jody, and someone at TMP working together. I have some emails to follow up on, but I'll also say that I'm willing to be like this. I can run point on this. I could be the person who tries to aggregate this data and figure out what is going on, but I'm feeling a little hamstrung by by our ordinances, by not knowing where to get a lot of the information that I need, and wondering where I can, where the information is and where to reach out for help, because I know that everyone's bandwidth is limited, and I know that it's peak season at TMP, and I want them to be able to work on their priorities too.
Definitely. Thank you, Becca. So kind of my thoughts on that too. I know we followed up with Tanner, and the reason this has been kind of reinvigorated in my eyes is Jody Trendler, our Director of Sustainability, had mentioned an opportunity to update this plan as part of her application process for a sustainability certification, as well as the bike league certification, and moving that up to a potential bronze status. I think it would be a good opportunity, and I know I connected you with Bridget Moriarty from the Safe Routes to School program. She's an active transportation unit coordinator, and she had some great walk audit details and data, as well as Nell from TMP, who's working on a sidewalk audit opportunity. So there's been a lot of progress since that document was made, which is kind of my point here, but it could be another opportunity to bring this agenda item to our next quarterly meeting with TMP, which should be happening soon. So if that sounds good to you, it may make sense to bring this master plan update, just a sort of outline of next steps, to our meeting with TMP to investigate that further. Does that sound like a good idea?
I will do my homework and sidebar with you about it.
Okay. Any other commissioners interested or have questions on the master plan, or would like to be involved in that meeting with TMP? Okay.
I just have a comment. I do recall that kind of in the last meeting that Tanner was in, we'd mentioned that there was some willingness on our part to go forward to the ordinance committee to see if having the bike ped master plan in our purview of responsibilities, our being the bike walk commission, is still appropriate, considering the changes that have happened since it was first written. From what I'm hearing just now, it sounds like we're might not be pursuing that. Can you tell me if I'm on or off about that?
Becca, do you want to answer this?
I'm not sure that I have a super solid answer. I do mention, and one of my notes from the meeting had to do with ways in which our ordinances are maybe holding us back from doing as much as we could with this. But I would have to read up and follow up with you next month.
I know, just in reference of my understanding, when we met with Tanner and he proposed that and we voted, it was a vote to review our ordinance and meet with the ordinance committee to update, which is still in place, makes sense considering, our ordinance, our code has not changed per se, but has reframed our priorities in the sense of our strategic goals for this year in 2025. So I think what Tanner proposed and what we voted on still makes sense, because it's not that we're swaying from our ordinance per se, but it is that, we are prioritizing other things like education and event community engagement, that sort of opportunity, which isn't as highlighted in our ordinance. So it's more in my, frame of reference here is a shift in what we're prioritizing. So I think that still, can call for a meeting with the ordinance committee and we can proceed with that. I think where I am delayed to say is what exactly we want that to be. And I think the reason I'm not initiating it on my end is because I want to kind of wait until we get through our strategic plan for 2025 so that we can use that as an opportunity to make that shift for our strategic plan for the next year for 2026. Also, it's, you know, the mayoral election and there is, you know, bound to be some change about to happen. So in terms of priorities right now, that's kind of lower on there, but it's a good question, Nick, and I think it is something that we're still looking to do, because we did vote on it, but I don't know, you know, in terms of clarity, like what exactly we're going to update our ordinance to be.
Yeah,
Is that
and how we do that, because it's not entirely up to us. I would say, Emily,
right?
to your point, it's you know, the ordinances that founded us served us at that time, but times have changed and we have changed, right? And there's not been an update commensurate with that. And the particular expertise of this volunteer panel can't rely on the fact that one former commissioner worked at Google Maps.
Right.
So
Okay.
I will do some homework and have a more thorough report for us next month on what I've learned.
Thank you, Becca.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thought to like kind of let us get through the year and kind of let us get through the mayoral election, see how that will kind of change how we make our plans. But in the sense of just like figuring out what the ordinance should include or not include, and like making the motions to like bring our proposals or what have you to the committee, I would definitely want to help with that. So if you're looking for help with that, like count me in.
I appreciate that. I think maybe what I'll do then is sort of set a goal of having, because we vote on our new common council in November, and then they, am I right that they start in January?
That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer. Greg or
Because I think
Darlene?
I'm thinking about January as sort of a goal for like, let's have something ready to present to the new mayor and the new council.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I'm not sure either when they officially are sworn in and begin. And I don't
But
want to give you the wrong
there
date.
is a brief lame duck, as it were, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't know when exactly they're sworn in, and when like the official reins are handed over to the new common council when they officially begin as well. Because we're also trying to plan accordingly on our end for committee and council meetings. Come
Well,
November, December.
I will find that out also,
So,
and then I will bring that as part of my update next time. I think with the sort of stated goal of our big due date being to present to the new council once they are off and running.
sounds good.
Thank you, Becca. Yeah, thank you, Greg. Okay. I guess on that note, then I will move on to our next agenda item here, previous event recaps, grants, and remaining old business. So this kind of opens up the opportunity for any topics from previous meetings that need actions or votes. Oh, oops, on that note, I definitely skipped over our acceptance of minutes, so sorry about that. I moved right on to old business from our public participation, so that's my error, I apologize. On that note then, is it okay, may I entertain a motion to approve our August minutes? Thank you. I see Becca, Manny, all in favor? Okay, and so minutes approved. Thank you, everyone. With that, any other commissioners with topics from previous meetings? I know Manny, thank you so much, and Nick, I know you were out of the country, but you were able to coordinate the bike valet for the Saturday Sono Market, and thank you, Manny, for transporting all of the materials. We received our bags and bottles from Minuteman Swag. We got Bike Norwalk tent all set up this year or not this year, this month, excuse me, for the Saturday Sono Market, and we gave away great materials and we did bike valet. I think we had a lot of bikes this month too. We had both racks full and it was really great to see. I don't remember the total. I think it was over 16 bikes. but it was a really great turnout, and we had a volunteer. Thank you, Hazar Sharan, for volunteering as well. And it was a really good opportunity for us to engage with the community. We had a lot of people come up and get bike lights and bike locks, and no helmets this time, but hopefully at our final September event, we'll have some more opportunities for giveaways. But any other notes or comments on the Saturday Sono Market or any other events from previous meetings to talk about?
No, I was just gonna add that it was a great turnout. I feel with the bike valet. I think, you know, I unfortunately won't be able to be at the one in September because I'll be out of town, but I do think, you know, I think we did a good job of improving some of the wayfinding of like the bike valet. I think there's always room for improvement with that as well. And so like maybe even sidewalk chalk to, you know, to direct people to this is where you can bike valet and that sort of thing. I think that would be really helpful. But overall, I thought it was really great. It was great to see people then asking like, "Oh, are you guys going to be here at the next one too?" You know what I mean? Kind of expecting that. So I thought that just went really well. So,
Thank you, Manny. And
and
that
then
that was really good. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, and then is a nice festival next? Is that after the Sono Market?
Yes, the NICE Festival's in October, so I think we will meet again before the NICE Festival. But I did meet with the director from the NICE Festival, so we do at some point want to talk about the fee associated with the event. It sounds like this year they are asking for all vendors to have the vendor application fee, partly because they've lost some federal funding. So with our budget, I believe it's possible, and I'll wait till next month to have a vote on this. But just in the planning phase for the NICE Festival, I think it's in everyone's best interest if we can allocate some funding for having the bike ballet for their event. But again, that's just my opinion, but I will entertain a motion to vote on that in our next meeting. But we should definitely start planning for that as well. I had one other quick thought on the Sono Saturday Marketplace, which was, something you said, Manny, which was we had people come up to our booth that knew we were there from last month and came back to ride again. And it was families in the area or people who had heard about us through the Visit Norwalk website that we were offering free bike parking, and having the wayfinding yard signs was really helpful. So thank you for that idea, Manny. That was really great. And I do love the idea of chalk. If we can make that happen for next one, that would be a lot of fun. Okay. Any other items before we move on to new business? Okay. So then the new business, this is an opportunity from TMP. Jim Travers brought this to our attention, and Greg, I'll hand it off to you to talk more about this trail opportunity, trail development opportunity.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, so this was an opportunity that we noticed, while obviously ongoing right now is the West Rocks Road Sidewalk Project, which, goes about 2 miles from new sidewalk construction from France Street all the way up to Creeping Hemlock. And, looking at staging areas, we noticed a path that runs parallel to the Mare Parkway, which is within the DOT right away. And there's a Eversource electric easement that runs through that right away, but it's a pretty significant area. And today there's like a stone dust path that runs, and it basically runs from West Rocks all the way to Main Avenue. Since the road was paved more recently, we did incorporate bike lanes on West Rocks, and obviously with the upcoming Main Avenue project with DOT, we felt like this might be a good opportunity for the commission to maybe utilize, some of your time and with, utilize some of the funds to get a consultant on board to do a feasibility study for that trail connection, to connect West Rocks to Main Avenue. And then obviously, we're there looking to incorporate bike lanes on Main Avenue, and then, you know, obviously with the NRVT connection beyond that. So just something that, you know, we wanted to propose to the commission to, you know, to get a consultant on board and to do that feasibility study.
Greg, by any chance, do you have a map up that we can get a visual on this?
Yeah, let me, apologies, I should have brought that up. Let me,
No. I was trying to do it while you were talking, and I'm not as fast as I feel like most people sharing their screen. So if you did have it available, it would be nice to see a visual, I think.
oh, good. Yeah, let me bring it up on Google Maps here, and then I can share my screen. 1 sec. One second. Sorry, it's taking a sweet old time here. Okay, I'll share my screen here. Sorry, hang on 1 sec. Sorry, I'm using my laptop, so not as quick as using the desktop.
No problem.
Okay, everybody see?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see where my cursor is, you see West Rocks Road, which we are constructing the new sidewalks. First District has a water tower that's here. And then as you can see, you have a stone dust path that runs from West Rocks Road that runs parallel to the Merritt Parkway. Still a significant distance between the Merritt Parkway and the trail. And then that brings you out to closer to the ramps near Main Avenue. So, you know, we thought this might be a great opportunity to look at, you know, an off-street trail that connects West Rocks Road to Main Avenue, especially since we do have bike lanes on West Rocks in this section, you know, north and south of the Merritt Parkway, and then that could connect you with the future construction of the new ramps off the Merritt and then to Main Avenue as well. So wanted to, you know, put that out there. I know we had some conversations with Emily, and this might be a great opportunity for the commission to, you know, to work with a consultant and take something like this on.
And this, just quickly, Becca, this is state-owned property or city-owned property or both?
So this is all DOT right away, but there's a Eversource easement that runs along here because there are overhead transmission lines that run through here.
Okay.
So it is, but it is DOT owned property.
Okay. Go ahead, Becca. Thank you, Greg.
Two questions. Is there any connection between this and routing the NRVT around Merritt 7? Or is it sort of an idea to have a bike path other than Main Avenue, right? Because like if I'm looking like West Rocks and Main Avenue run parallel, right? So so West Rocks might be a more attractive north southbound bike route, but then if one needed to get to Main Avenue. But if you're starting on the NRVT, how do you get to West Rocks Roads in the first place? Asking because I don't know the geography up here that well.
Yeah, I think it would, you know, it would look at how you can route from the NRVT and how you can connect it to Main, you know, connect that to Main Avenue, obviously, and then how you make that connection, of course, to the trail between Main Avenue and West Rocks. You know, as that plan kind of develops from, you know, DOT, how they're going to do their dedicated bike lanes on Main Avenue, you know, we can look to tie in the NRVT, you know, into those bike lanes on Main Avenue, and then bring you to the trail as well.
Yeah, maybe there's even a fork. It's, you know, like to West Rocks Road, you know, lower car traffic to Main Avenue, you know, experienced cyclists only recommended or something, you know.
Right. Because when you go all the way to the end of West Rocks, it more or less brings you to you're almost at Wilton at that point. And you know, the road does narrow out on West Rocks, so we had to, you know, transition to a Sharrow at that point to get you that last few hundred feet onto Main Avenue. But this, can tie in nicely to Main Avenue, where you're not really looking to go all the way up, to that northern end of the city. Maybe you're looking to go south of the Merritt Parkway, for instance.
Or to
Um,
Stop and Shop.
Yeah, no, there's others. There's Hobby Lobby. There's connections to all the restaurants and retail that are along Main Avenue. So
Yep,
um,
you can put your bike on a bus and then go for a ride, and sounds great.
yeah.
And then I guess I would love to hear more specifically from you, like what our role would be in this project.
So I think for your role, I think it's just putting a scope of work together, and getting a consultant on board, to kind of do a feasibility study and look at that, in comparison to what we have existing on West Rocks, and also what is planned through with DOT, and how we can make it work. I think it's something that the commission can take on a lot of the workload on. It's pretty straightforward, and to work with the consultant, we can assist as much as we can. But I think it's something that the commission can take on.
So we would be
You know,
like estimating how much we think this is going to cost or what it would take,
no, I
and
think
then
just in the
choosing the
feasibility study, I think
consultant. I just don't know. I have
Yeah,
no experience in any of this. I'm a theater stagehand. I'm a
gotcha.
volunteer, so.
No,
Is
understood.
this stuff that other people know how to do who have office jobs? Because I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, no, understood. And like I said, I think you just have to see what we want out of the study, and to see what we want the outcomes to be. Um, obviously, yeah, at the end of the day, we would like to know at a preliminary level how much it would cost, to build it, and what type of material. But I think just getting the consultant on board to look at it more in depth, and we could talk about the scope and what you want out of it more in depth offline. But like I said, I think it's just in our discussions with Emily, it might be a great opportunity for the commission to kind of take something like this on, just to kind of get somewhat familiarized with the process, and what we kind of have to go through, and a lot of the planning and design work that we do. And might be a great opportunity also to have your name on it, that you guys oversaw this study, and you guys were part of that. So something that doesn't have to be decided right here right now, and obviously there'll be more discussions offline as well. But just wanted something to introduce you all to it, and get your initial thoughts, and something you all can talk about offline even as well.
Definitely. It's a great opportunity to learn, and thank you, Craig, for, talking about it with us today, and kind of the preview I got from you and Jim. This definitely is interesting to me, especially with all the work going on right now in that area, or work about to happen with the 715 project, with the funding from the state and federal government for the NRVT, in that kind of section between Norwalk and Wilton. And I think just looking at the map now, the other thought, and Becca, you kind of hinted to this, was connecting that neighborhood, the residential part, to the commercial part with Stop and Shop and Hobby Lobby. That would be another great way just to connect that neighborhood even to the NRVT, which doesn't, necessarily have that connected path on Main Ave yet, but it is something in the works. So that's another great way to just create that connectivity to those things. So this would definitely, in my eyes, be something that, as a bike walk commission, I would be interested in, moving forward, and finding that consultant and working on that scope of work for the feasibility study for this project. Do any other commissioners, have any questions or comments? And Becca, to address your question as well, which is, if you don't have experience in this, we can definitely, have that opportunity to learn and connect with experts to do more on that. But, we'll work closely with Greg and TMP and Jim to make this happen, if it's something that we are interested in doing. Manny and Nick, do you, either of you, have any questions or comments on this?
No.
I'm curious, Greg, if there's like a list of consultants that TMP has on retainer, or something of the sorts that we could tap into.
I mean, we do have a list, you know, for on-call consultants that we use, a long list. So, you know, we can work out the details on how we want to advertise it. Because since it is city money, we still have to go through the city process. So, yeah, there's definitely a mechanism where you know, we can have you piggyback off of our short list of consultants that we have already on board, to get that out.
Okay. And is there any sort of like documented procedure for like the proper avenue of getting this done with a consultant?
No, I think as you know, if the you know, if the commission is on board, I think those are discussions we can have offline and kind of list out, you know, the outcomes that we want, from the end of the study and how far we want the consultant to go with it. You know, do we want more conceptual design, and you know, do we want an estimate that's attached to it? Do we want them to coordinate with DOT and with Eversource as well? So I think just starting with a list of what outcomes, you know, we will want from it, and then kind of build it from there.
Gotcha. Okay.
With that, thank you, Greg. Oh, Becca, sorry, I see your hand's raised.
I'm all about helping, you know, and collaborating on this. I'm just wondering, I did pull up our current ordinances really quickly, and the words that I'm seeing, like the verbs I'm seeing, are like review, promote, and update, bike plan, ped plan, review and provide advice on the transportation component of the POCD, review and provide advice on transportation and other projects having an impact on biking, walking from the earliest stage possible. So obviously this is the earliest stage, and this is great. I just want to make sure that we are serving in, as our name suggests, an advisory capacity, you know, right? Because I want to defer to the experts when it comes to spearheading things. I want to be the civilian perspective on this and how it will help the people of Norwalk. That's all.
Definitely. Thank you, Becca. Okay. Then with that, I will move on to our next item here for new business, the Walk Bike Roll to School Day, which is October 8th, 2025. Thank you, Manny, and our volunteer, Christina Randall, for attending the South Norwalk Elementary School Orientation Day. We had a group walk. I think it was, Manny, do you remember the date offhand? It was last month, but it was a Friday right before school started. I can't remember which day in August, but it was a great opportunity to engage with the Norwalk Public Schools and the new school that just opened up here in South Norwalk. We were able to walk along the streets. The police, you know, cautioned off traffic, so we were walking in the streets and kind of getting to know the neighborhood layout, walking to school with students, teachers, the principal was there. It was a lovely event. And then we had a table handing out information. And so at this event, we also connected with the Safe Routes to School program, and we reconnected with Joanna and Jill from the Norwalk Public Schools, but we met with Bridget Moriarty, who offered to support us and further collaborate on our mission to engage Norwalk Public Schools for the Walk Bike Roll to School Day event happening. So she is also working actively with the different schools in our area to have them registered, to coordinate the bike to school initiatives and walking to school routes in those areas. So we are working with her actively to kind of build on that and build up this event that we worked on with Jill and Joanna last year. Manny, with that context, can I hand it off to you to talk kind of further on next steps for this event and planning?
Sure. So I would say the next steps is definitely to reconnect with the people from the school district and the transportation, including Jill, and in order to just kind of get the ball rolling on like what school we're going to choose, what's the best school to be at, to be able to encourage this. And also bring in like, Jalea and see if she's available as well to be a part of it. And if New Vans Health would also like to jump on board of that as well. But I would say just kind of reaching out to the school, the school district, to basically coordinate and figure out like what's the best school to do this at next month.
Perfect. And I know one group we had going last year, and I know we kind of were trying to reinvigorate it again, is the educational subcommittee group. I know that was Julia's a part of that. You're leading it. And I don't know if Christine Bisagli would be interested in volunteering on that kind of subcommittee. She's a great, voice to have on board, and she has great connections in the area. And then, like you mentioned, Brianna Iorfino from New Vance Health was a great help last year. I'm excited to hopefully have her involved with the program again this year as well. So that would be great if we can maybe start our educational planning committee meeting this month, because I know it's about a month away, or it's exactly a month from today. Did I say the 8th?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all on board as well to participate in this and plan it again. It was amazing last year, and I think we'll probably be able to do even more this year. So I'm definitely in on whatever we plan.
Perfect.
Yeah, last year we did 2 schools, and so I'm curious if we want to keep it at 2 schools or expand to 3 schools, or maybe scale. Depends on how things are going with the school district as well. But yeah, I think it'd be great to start that conversation up again.
Perfect. So then, Julia, thank you for offering to participate and be involved this year again. Manny, can I leave it to you? And I'm excited to be involved and help however I can to
Yeah.
schedule a meeting with our group and kind of, get that on the calendar so we can start planning for that.
Okay.
And then I'll make sure I'll introduce you to, or if I haven't already, I'll connect you with Bridget, because she offered to help and she provided a lot of educational print material. And
Oh,
I think we
cool.
have some budget to spend there. So, or from the grant, excuse me, not budget, but the grant, we have some print material brochure opportunities. So we can print some of that material that she handed out for, kids specifically for this event, which will be really great. Okay. Any other commissioners with comments or questions on that? Okay. Our next item here, distracted driving deterrence initiatives. So this was something I know Jim brought up to me the other month, and then Becca and I had talked about it a little bit. And I think I may have touched on this with a few commissioners as well in one-on-ones, but discussing our strategies and partnerships to reduce distracted driving and improve safety for cyclists and pedestrians. This is really an opportunity to brainstorm ideas. I know it wasn't last year or the year before, it might have been 3 years ago. We had a speaker come to the Norwalk Library, Benjamin Granis, who has his Eyes Up ride program that he did, and it was an educational talk on the dangers of distracted driving and watching out for cyclists, and it was a really great program. And in my one-on-one with Becca, I had reached back out to him to see if he would be willing to do something like that again. He is no longer giving talks, but was interested in participating in any way he could. So there's that connection there. But what the reason this is on the agenda and what I'm hoping to gather from commissioners or public comment is any ideas around ways that we can either get involved with drivers' educational institutions in promoting safe cycling and pedestrian educational opportunities for new drivers, or other ways to engage with the kind of driving audience around cycling and pedestrian infrastructure, especially with the new infrastructure coming in to our city with the green bike lanes, with certain signage around or confusion around signage for cyclists specifically. If any commissioners had any thoughts or ideas around that, I'm open to talking about it.
I think we should liaise with the Norwalk Public Schools, find out who teaches driver's ed, and see if we can come in for a day to talk about driving safely around cyclists.
I think, yeah, Joanna might be a good point of contact to start there and see, at least, I don't know for the elementary, middle, high schools, but I think that's a really good idea. We can find a way to find that point of contact.
Yeah, you and I had discussed maybe starting locally, and then like ultimately maybe the goal is that we start to talk to other towns and get something that's like part of the written CT driver's license test. That's like, like one of the questions is how much room do you have to give a cyclist? The answer is 3 feet, just so that
Right.
everyone is being confronted with the idea that they will be sharing the road
Right.
from before the first time they get behind the wheel.
Mhm. And it kind of ties into the next agenda item here too, the e-bike safety seminar, which also, like I imagine for drivers, there's also some confusion, especially with the new e-bikes coming out and younger kids getting on e-bikes and that sort of realm of nuance and, the technology finally catching up with the law that's, there's new e-bike laws coming out in October, which is why this other agenda item I have on here is around e-bike safety. But tying it back to what you're saying, Becca, about distracted driving and at least or distracted driving deterrence, but having drivers, know how to navigate around e-bikes on the road as well. So that they kind of, in my eyes, they're coming, hand in hand in that way. But I think it could be something with the public schools, definitely, but also with the police department. Um, I want to bring up the next agenda item, but I do want to have a clear action item on this one for the driving deterrence initiatives. Is it something where I can ask you, Becca, to maybe work with Christine if she's open to it to find a point of contact to move that along? Would you be open to doing something like that?
Kind of feels under the purview of education subcommittee, but I'm happy to support it.
Okay. That would be great too. Manny, if you don't mind, can maybe we add that to our list for
Sure.
the educational subcommittee? Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. And then Becca will tie you into that. Thank you. And then next on the list here, the e-bike safety check-in. So I had connected with 2 members of the Norwalk Police Department, and Nick, I believe one of them is a connection from you, Sergeant Everts, and one other person, but they, from our Norwalk Night Out event, mentioned that they were interested in an e-bike safety seminar. Especially because other surrounding towns have been hosting these kind of community gatherings around e-bike safety, especially around kids getting access to e-bikes and knowing the difference between, a motorbike and an e-bike and making sure we're all abiding by the law and, safety procedures that come with riding an e-bike. This was something that when reaching out to the police department, the first person that came to mind was Chaz Foster from the Sound Cyclist group. He's a bike league certified instructor. He's worked with Jalea, who's also a league certified instructor on bike safety courses at CT State Norwalk recently. So he offered to potentially help us with an e-bike safety seminar with the Norwalk Police Department. But the only barrier for me right now is that I haven't been able to arrange it and schedule a time to start promoting it. So essentially the next steps on this item would be to connect with those police sergeants and Chaz Foster and coordinate time and location to set this up, hopefully this fall, if we can make that happen. I'm hoping to get either a commissioner or a volunteer to help kind of organize and run this event if this is something that if our commission is interested in pursuing. Or even Jalea, I kind of thought of you too, if this is something that the health department would be interested in collaborating on as well. Any thoughts or?
Yeah, Emily,
Yeah.
I would like more details about the event possibly. But it's definitely something I'm open to.
I can arrange that too. There was one that happened in Westport that I attended, so I have a lot of notes and slide details and things like that, so I can provide that and connect you with Chaz to kind of get an idea of what it would entail.
Thank you, Emily.
So is this something that the police department approached you about?
This was something I spoke to an officer about, and then I connected on social media and I shared some past events with them. And they mentioned that, or at least whoever represented them online gave me contact information for Sergeant Everts and another sergeant that I can't remember the name of offhand. But essentially, the community services division within the police department, and that they were interested in doing something like this.
So then,
Emily,
Oh, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
okay, so if Chaz were to like, I guess I'd want to know what's your idea for like the uh shared responsibility between the police department and Chaz Foster, like who would actually be delivering the content of such a um seminar or whatever you want to call it.
It's a good question. I mean, I know we have e-bike officers. I don't know the extent to, how much the police department knows. Using the Westport seminar as an example, they had not only police officers speak to their experience pulling over, young Westport children not of age to be riding e-bikes and that sort of process in which, they got fined and what happened and so on and so forth, but it's also the fire marshals were there talking about like charging e-bikes and the dangers and fire risks of that. And then Chaz, who's the league certified instructor, went on and spoke about, biking laws and not allowing e-bikes on sidewalks, but bicycles can be on sidewalks and the whole, structure behind the difference between e-bikes and bikes and then the different classes and things like that. I think it's kind of up to I don't want to say us, but the group as a whole who's running the seminar, how they want it broken down. I think bringing in Chaz as an expert teacher will be helpful because he can, align with what the need is and kind of delegate to, what he is able to speak on behalf of and then what, the officers would want to speak on behalf of. But in terms of collaboration on that, I think that would be my approach to it. I think it might be nice to have a commissioner speak or maybe a member from TMP, especially around infrastructure in Norwalk that's changing or, the improvements that we've made so far and what kind of the vision is overall. But responsibility wise, to answer your question, I think it would be more collaborative between the groups.
Okay, the examples definitely help me understand what you're looking for a lot better. Thank you. But in this context, Bike Wall Commission will kind of act as more of an event coordinator. If I understand you correctly, could you confirm that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if we can help make this educational opportunity kind of seminar happen, that would be our driving motivation and force. But it might be nice to have one of us speak as well.
Emily, I think this is a great idea, and there's a big need for this right now, seeing everything that's going on. Did you ever think of pulling in the folks from New Vans, like Brianna, since it's obviously a lot of e-bike folks end up in the hospital due to injuries? Is that something else that you kind of thought through, like coming from folks that are dealing with the aftermath of those accidents? Would also be good to have somebody from there speak about, like, things that they're seeing as well.
Julia, that's such a good point, and I hadn't thought of that, but that is a really good idea. And I know in our last encounter, Brianna has a team with her that focuses on other, parts to, her work is the trauma and injury kind of coordinator and focus on education around that. But that's a great idea, and I think if she's interested or her team is interested, I would love to involve them as well. Absolutely. Do you have and is this something that you would also maybe as the health department be interested and as a lead
Yeah,
certified instructor, yeah, if you would
absolutely.
be okay.
From both sides. I mean, obviously from the health department side too, but I can also assist Chaz and the education portion.
Perfect. Great. Okay. Um, are any other commissioners interested in getting involved in that process? If my next steps here is to kind of initiate that email thread and group to bring everyone together to set up next steps, is there any commissioner that would be interested in being a part of that?
Is this something that I can also include in my email about bike walk and roll, but then kind of slap it on there, especially since I was gonna email I was gonna include I know it's not I don't think it's called New Vance Health anymore, but the people from New Vance Health as well. Um
Definitely.
I can include them in that and kind of drop that in there as well. I was just trying to think about this. What was the second piece that Becca was mentioning about it being on the education subcommittee as well? I blanked out on that one. We were talking about prior. I'm because I'm writing down a list, and so I was just trying to remember.
Oh, the distracted driving
There you go.
deterrence initiatives.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, sorry. I blanked out for a minute there too. No, it's a lot, I know. And thank you, Manny. All those things, yeah, around educational kind of community engagement are
Mhm.
perfect for all
Okay.
ages.
Cool. No, those are yeah. I feel like they're all interconnected with education, and so I'm trying to. It'd be cool. I'm going to send an email today after the meeting, and it'd be cool to just even if there any of this rubs up, like kind of is within the wheelhouse of the people that we're going to connect with. I think
Mhm.
it'd be worth mentioning.
Thank you, Manny. No, I appreciate that. And it's good to keep that conversation going. So definitely thank you for doing that. Okay, great. Then with that, that is all of our new business items. The last item here on our agenda is discussion items. And I think we've kind of covered this in our agenda already. TMP, Greg, if there's any other discussion points or notes from TMP for us, now would be a great opportunity.
No, I think just we're currently still ongoing with, we've started 2 additional sidewalk projects this week, so we have 7 ongoing projects right now. So lots going on in TMP, but all good things. So we're excited to keep rolling along and look forward to I think by the end of the year the city will have installed the most amount of sidewalks in a year ever by the time it's all done. So we're excited to see what it comes out to between TMP, DPW, and private developments as well. There's been a lot new sidewalks that are being installed.
I'm so glad to hear it. That's awesome news. With that too, I know offline, I think we're due for our next quarterly meeting, so I will reach out to you and commissioners to find a time to meet Bike Walk Commission with TMP.
Sounds good.
Perfect. And then Norwalk Health Department, Julia, I hope you're still here. Thank you so much for participating. Are there any announcements on your end for the Bike Walk Commission or discussion points you want to bring up?
Yeah, so we are partnering with the Norwalk River Valley Trail to do walks every Wednesday evening at 5:30 p.m. It's up on our website. I can email you the flyer, Emily, so you can send it out. But if you go to our website under the Norwalker program, it's up there. And if you click it, it downloads to a PDF. But we're doing that Each week it's at a different location or point of the NRVT. So the point is to get folks out and walking. And then I also am partnering with CT State Norwalk to host walks with them. The actual flyer for the events are not out yet, and the walks are kind of all over the place. Like some are Tuesdays, some are Thursdays. They're at different times of the day. Tracy and her team are working on the flyer and finalizing it. So if any commissioners would like to join and be part of this, please let me know. I'm happy to connect you with Tracy. And then also once the flyer is complete, we will be posting it on our website on our Norwalker page as well. And CT State will be releasing it through their social media and will more than likely share it to ours as well. So we're just really trying to look for those opportunities for folks to get out and get walking and use all the paths that are available, the Norwalker maps. The one at CT State that the path we're going to be walking is a Norwalker route, one of the loops on one of our maps on the CT State map. So please join us if you can. It's open to the public. Anybody can come. The path is okay. It's pretty accessible, and they do have somebody that is in a wheelchair that's also helping them to get recommendations on how to make it even more, ADA accessible for folks. So that's in the works, but please join us if you can. And that's pretty much all I have. Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you, Julia. That's great. Yeah, I'll look forward to those flyers, and we'll be sure to share it through our subscriber network as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Last discussion item, the Norwalk Bike Walk Educational Subcommittee. Manny will work on reinvigorating that, but any other points or comments for that group?
No, I think that's kind of it. Bike and roll, and then trying to navigate the distracted drivers point that we were talking about. But then, I guess something that we can talk about offline in the subcommittee, one thing that I thought about was, well, we were exploring the option of doing some kind of like bike rodeo or bike rodeo light with fill in the blanks. I think in just further conversation, I think we've determined that it might not be a good fit, not necessarily because of anything that fill in the blanks is doing, but more because I think the purpose of fill in the blanks on a Saturday morning is very specific, and it's a well-oiled machine of sorts that not a lot of children are necessarily there. Parents might not be wanting to bring their children at 7 a.m, right? For a specific event. And so maybe now I feel like I'm going back to the drawing board with like, how can we connect with the community in a different way? So that's where I'm at with that.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know the next Filling in the Blanks event is this Saturday. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Then last discussion item here to close out our meeting. Any items for future agendas or any other commissioners with comments before we motion to adjourn? Then with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Becca, thank you. Manny, seconded. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Greg, Julia, Dylene, Nick, Becca, Manny. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.